Hi, I'm Clytie Bunyan, business editor of The Oklahoman, and this is our Reporter's Notebook. With me is Don McCoy, our financial writer, and Jim Stafford, our tech writer, who also does many other things for us, including covering agriculture. This week we're going to talk about some of the things that we've been doing, and you guys recently took some alternative modes of transportation to get to work. Jim, you took the bus, which you never do, obviously, because it's really inconvenient. And Don, you took the bike or to work. Since you guys have done that story, have you all noticed any differences in people's attitudes as far as, how they get to work, and particularly with gas prices as high as they are?
Well, I got a fair amount of feedback from people who'd seen the story that I did about riding the bike, and I know several people who ride bikes regularly, and they had the same complaint that I do, that they'd be glad to try to commute to work occasionally, not every day, but it's just too hard with the traffic and the lack of bike paths and things. And also heard from a lot of people, just generally complaining about gas prices, that they're considering changing their habits, maybe carpooling some, maybe doing some alternative things. Haven't quite gotten there yet, though. I don't know of anybody who's really made a huge lifestyle change yet, but it feels like it may be coming.
And a lot of people have been talking about carpooling. A lot of companies actually have started talking about carpooling, and some companies are still trying to assess ways to help people get to work. Jim, have you seen anything?
Well, I got scores of comments both at the bottom of the story that was online, and also from people who email me or have seen me comment on that. Most of them were complaining about the bus system in our community, I think maybe unfairly, because Don and I have actually talked about this and the problem with the bus system on attracting riders. Your theory on that?
Well, they don't have very many buses running the routes because there's very few riders, but they don't have very many riders because there's no buses on the routes. So it's a catch-22 situation, I think.
And so that's pretty much what I got, was people saying, well, I would ride the bus, but it's too inconvenient. It just won't work for me. Kind of the way it was for me.
Did you hear anything from the Metro Transit people about whether that can improve at some point? Another argument for light rail?
No, but I did get a call from a bus driver who felt that I treated the bus drivers unfairly, and he may have had a point.
Well, but we should also point out that we both live about 10 miles away from the office, and I got there 90 minutes before he did on my bicycle, and I was riding against the wind. So
it only took me an hour. No, it took me 2 hours and 10 minutes to get to work.
Well, y'all's experience had me starting to think about getting a scooter. I actually thought about getting a scooter, and I thought, oh, it'd be neat. I could actually do this, and I wouldn't even have to wear sneakers or something. I could use ride a scooter and high heels and all. And then someone told me I'd be crushed like a bug because I didn't realize really scooters don't go as fast as I thought they did. They don't go 40, 45, 50 miles an hour. So
yeah, and you've got a pretty good.
And I got a long way, and I'm in the state all the way. So not a good idea. Okay, Jim, you went out to the farm last week, literally went into the fields, taking a look at the beginning at the start of harvest. What are some of the things that you're hearing out there this year? How successful is the crop going to be this year? Are people going to be able to recover from some of the losses from last year?
In many ways, I believe they are for this year. The forecast crop amount for Oklahoma for the wheat crop is 149 million bushels, and that's roughly average for Oklahoma. But when I was out in southwestern Oklahoma last week, it appeared that the crop, at least in that part of the state, is going to be far exceed what has been forecast. So, yes, with prices, say, roughly $7.50 a bushel, this year, farmers will be able to recoup a lot of their losses. Next year is what they're concerned about, because the cost of the inputs, as they call it, the fertilizer, the fuel, are probably 2 to 3 times as much as they were for this crop. So who knows what that means for the coming crop? But at least now maybe they can enjoy it.
And there's no reports of any major disease or really bad weather to prevent this year's crop from
just in isolated spots, like the one field that I wrote about. It was just like a 2 mile wide, 10 miles long, and near El Dorado, and the field was just obliterated by hail that was. They said it was baseball size. I've never really seen any baseball size.
Yeah, but it sounds good. Don, coming up this week, you've been working for the last week or so on a story that's yet to run. It's basically about executive compensation. Can you tell us about some of the interesting little factoids or tidbits that you found along the way?
Sure. Well, I've been crunching numbers, which basically involves pulling up regulatory documents and sticking the numbers in Excel spreadsheets, and it's always fascinating. Everybody likes to know how much other people make. You know, USA Today puts out that Parade magazine every year about who makes what, and I always read the whole thing. And so we do the same thing with our public CEOs. And as you go through there, sometimes they have to tell about certain things having to do with the way their executives are compensated. And for instance, there's one CEO of a large energy company, and there's a lot of large energy companies in Oklahoma, so I'm not giving anything away there.
Right.
But for several years, he didn't draw a salary at all.
Shocking.
Yeah,
that's really shocking.
He didn't want any money, I guess. Of course, he has plenty now. There's another CEO of a major Oklahoma-based firm who doesn't believe in stock options, and I don't know if there's anybody else. I've certainly not seen any other companies where they expressly set out that I don't want stock options. I don't really want my other executives to get them, and I don't need them. Because a lot of companies use stock options to incentivize CEOs, to help keep the stock price up. And there's one or two others who actually get astounding amounts of compensation to pay for their personal accounting. Hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay for their accounting needs, just them personally. I mean, I pay, a few $100s. That takes care of all my accounting for the whole year. So, these guys are and gals are in a completely different realm than you and I.
From what you've been seeing, does it look as though the compensation is in line with company performance?
Well, I would say so. I haven't really put all the numbers together on that, but most Oklahoma companies, public companies, are doing quite well because we're very heavily energy. Energy drives Oklahoma's public companies. Energy's done great. And the energy executives are doing great, and you can't blame the boards for paying them a lot of money because they're making the shareholders a lot of money.
Right. Apart from energy, which is obviously going really great, what other sector appears to be doing really well?
Well, among public companies, I don't know that I'd say it's doing really well, but I'd say that there's a surprising amount of strength in the banking sector. We've had a lot of stories about the whole financial sector because everybody's wondering where's the bottom on this thing with the subprime lending and the credit crunch and the financial problems and the write-downs, and we've not seen much of that here in Oklahoma, and we've looked for it. I mean, and there's been a bit of a downturn, and the interest margins are pretty narrow right now for bankers. It's not an easy time to make a living as a banker, but everybody seems to be making money, so I would kind of point that sector out.
Okay. Well, thanks, guys. And next week, Jim, you probably will talk to us a little bit about the iPhone, and Don, whatever else is on your financial beat that may be coming along the way. So hopefully you can join us next week for some more of our reporters.